What is up, everybody? Welcome to Drive for Show, DFS for Dough here on RotoGrinders. It's Tuesday night. That means we are talking golf, PGA Tour style, and again, a little bit of a change in the schedule the last couple of years. So we have a major in the middle of May, which was a little strange at first when you weren't used to it, but it's kind of become old hat by now. So we'll break that down for you tonight, the PGA Championship. I am Justin Van Zuiden, STL Cardinals 84. I have my good friend Notorious, Derek Farnsworth alongside. Noto, what's going on?
Yeah, happy major week. Doing good over here. Just prepping for a baby. Should be here in a week or two. So, yeah, things are good over here. How are you?
Yeah, that's exciting. It's always a hectic time in the life when a baby's coming along. So congrats on that. Hope everything goes smoothly for you over those next couple of weeks. And doing fine here. Nothing too crazy. We've got year-end band and choir concerts for our kids coming up this week, the last week of track season. So, and it's getting hot. It's going to be 90 here by the end of the week. So, it means summer's getting closer, and that's good by me. I don't like the brutal cold weather. I mean, I don't want it to be 120, but I prefer summer to winter anyway.
Same.
All right. Well, quick look back at last week where Sepp Straka continued his fine season with a solid round on Sunday, got the victory at the Truist Championship, a couple shots ahead of Justin Thomas, Shane Lowry, Patrick Cantlay, Tommy Fleetwood also inside the top five there. So it was a pretty star-studded leaderboard. Keith Mitchell was in the mix as well before fading a little bit on Sunday, but Straka just keeps on keeping on, and Thomas has been having a really good spring as well. So what were some of your takeaways from last week? And the course, I think, maybe played a little bit easier, a little more driver-friendly than a lot of people thought.
Yeah, after the first round, I thought we were going to look at another 30-under winner, but it seems like they just put the really easy holes out there on day one, and then we got some bad weather the next couple of days, and the course got a lot tougher. But it was a lot of fun to watch. I love the course. I think if they can, they should go back there as often as possible. It's always nice to get a little break from the birdie fest on the PGA Tour. So I liked it. If you hit good shots, they were rewarded. And if you didn't, scrambling was pretty difficult. So if you missed greens, you were kind of just hoping to, shoot around even par. I did have an outright on Shane Lowry, so I was pulling for him on Sunday. Didn't quite get the job done. For whatever reason, he's been struggling once he gets into that final group on a Sunday. He hasn't won in America for a long time, but yeah, congrats to Sepp Straka. JT playing well again. That's always good to see. Decent week for DFS for me, but nothing too spectacular. How about yourself?
Yeah, same here. And obviously it was a no-cut event, and I didn't have any Straka, so it was tough to win. Without the victorious golfer there. Had a few decent lineups, but nothing that was really in the mix come Sunday. So what's okay? We'll save up the good karma for this week with a major tournament. Justin Rose, by the way, at least we got him right last week. We talked about where we didn't know where the kind of semi-chalk projections were coming in for him, and he was basically dead last there heading into the weekend and withdrew. So hope he's doing all right, but at least dodged that bullet last week.
Yeah, we got something right. It's always good.
All right, so let's go ahead and move along. We've got a major this week, PGA Championship at Quail Hollow, which is usually the course for the tournament that we had last week. So if you're looking for course history, you do have Quail Hollow data from the Truist / Wells Fargo Championship in the past, except for 2022 when the Wells Fargo was hosted somewhere else because Quail Hollow had the President's Cup, and 2017, which ironically Quail Hollow hosted the PGA Championship like they are this year. That one was won by Justin Thomas 8 years ago, and Thomas in fine form as they come back to Quail Hollow for this year's PGA Championship. But if you want some course history data, you'll take it from either that 2017 PGA Championship, the 2022 President's Cup, or any of the Wells Fargos in between, 2016 and 2024, except for those handful of years where they didn't host. A little bit confusing, but the gist of it is Quail Hollow is a course that we have seen before on the PGA Tour. It has hosted a PGA Championship before. But what's interesting is when they went to host the PGA Championship there in 2017, they really buffered up this course a little bit, made it longer, made it more difficult. And so it, has been a pretty good test for major championship golf. What do we know outside of that, or in addition to that, about Quail Hollow this week?
Yeah, so they beefed it up in 2017. They beefed it up a little bit this year. So they added like 80 yards to the scorecard. They added length on 3 different holes, and then they're growing up the rough to 2.75 inches, which is 0.75 more than they normally do for the Wells Fargo. And it typically played as one of the 10 toughest courses on the PGA Tour. So you got to think the scoring is going to be pretty difficult. I was looking at the weather forecast. Doesn't look like there's going to be too much wind, and there was some rain early in the week. They had to suspend the practice round today. So I do think the course will be pretty soft. You could argue that favors the bombers even more. You could also argue that it favors the shorter hitters a little bit because they can hit the fairways, and then the greens will be easier to hold from those longer approach shots. But make no mistake about it. I mean, this is going to definitely favor the guys that can get out there off the tee. 7,600 yards for a par 71, which is just wild. It's the longest par 71 since Torrey Pines hosted the U.S. Open the year that John Rahm won. The greens are pretty big. The fairways are pretty narrow. Water's in play on 7 of the holes. The greens are going to be tough to hit. Last year we saw the field hit 56% of the greens in regulation, and probably going to be a similar number this week, maybe even lower. So you're going to have to scramble well. You're going to have to do pretty much everything well, and kind of just like most of the majors that we have these days. So I think it's going to be a good test. I like that we have data to work with, and it should be a fun week.
Yeah, and Quail Hollow has a 3-hole closing stretch, which they call the Green Mile, which is a 529 this week on the scorecard. The 16th is a 529-yard par 4. The 17th is a 223-yard par 3, and the 18th is a 494-yard par 4. So if your guy is on the cut line on Friday afternoon with those 3 holes to play, it's going to be holding on tight with those final 3 holes. The 2 holes right before that are a par 5 and a pretty short par 4. So best served to maybe birdie one of those and try to hold on 16 through 18. So those should play pretty tough. But as Noto mentioned, the entirety of the course is length. The first hole is a 500-plus yard par 4. The second hole is about 450. The third hole right now they've got at 483. 3 of the 4 par 3s are very lengthy. The 6th hole is 249. The 13th is 205, and the aforementioned 17th is 223. So it's going to be a challenging course. And Noto hinted at the rain. I believe there was a decent amount in some downpours today. So I do think that it's certainly going to cater to the bombers, at least to start off the tournament. And with that length, it's pretty hard to justify that it's not going to cater to them throughout the weekend. So definitely playing the bomber angle here myself. And certainly, it's a tee to green golf course. But you're going to have to be good at everything to win a major championship. So should be fun. Quail Hollow, again, hosting, and it's in Charlotte, North Carolina. So anything else before we move along?
Yeah, I think the cut was +5 in 2017. If you want to check out the course, Grant Horvat and the Bryan Bros ended up playing it on their channel to try to see if they could make the cut. So they played it like a week or 2 ago. So it's in great condition, tournament conditions. Rough looks pretty thick. So if you want to check that out, it's fun to watch. And yeah, the cut should be over par. And as you mentioned, just got to watch out for that green mile.
All right. With that, let's go ahead and dig into the player pool this week and see what we've got. So generally, major pricing is pretty soft. We've seen it be pretty easy to build lineups in the past, but didn't make it as easy for a major. I mean, I don't think we've ever had like 12K plus golfers too often for majors, let alone Scheffler at 13.4, Rory at 12.2, Bryson at 11.5, and then quite a few others still above 10K yet, where this is almost a couple of different pricing tiers here just at the top with those guys. And, obviously we saw Scheffler his last time out completely dominate. We've seen Rory dominate at times this year. won the last major. Bryson was in the mix at the Masters. So, I mean, the pricing just makes it an interesting conversation this week because there is a kind of delineation point in between all of them. So Scheffler, Rory, Bryson, none of the above before we get to the other 10K options. What do you think?
Yeah, it is interesting because most majors, it makes me want to build more balanced because I typically think, all the like semi-stars seem underpriced, but that doesn't seem the case this week. There's a ton of players in the 9Ks. And then, as you mentioned, you got the 5K floor on DraftKings. And then at the very top, you got 3 different price points for the expensive golfers. So I'm kind of leaning towards more stars and scrubs because I feel decent about some of the 5K options and 6K options. But my favorite up top is going to be Rory McIlroy. I do think he's like, this is the first time he's rated out better than Scheffler in my model in the last couple of years. And then you just look at the course history. I mean, he's played here the last 11 times they've had the Wells Fargo, and he has 9 top 10s and 3 wins. Scheffler never played here before outside of the President's Cup in 2022. And when he did, he only earned a half point. Him and Sam Burns were one of the biggest disappointments as a team. And then I think he ended up tying his individual match. So obviously he can come out and play well. He just dusted the field by 8 strokes a couple weeks ago. I do like Bryson as well, coming off of a win on Live and then 4 straight top 5 finishes. Seems like a pretty good course fit for him. But if I'm ranking them, I'll go Rory, Bryson, and then Scheffler.
Wow, Scheffler third. That's guaranteed to come back to bite you. Last time I stood out on that limit broke. I generally agree, though. I think I'd put Scheffler ahead of Bryson, but it's tough with a $1,900 pricing difference, and it's just trying to make a 13-4 golfer work is difficult. So it's just weird because these aren't the conversations we usually have with majors. It's just usually you can plug in whoever you want at the top. Right now, we've only got Scheffler at 19% ownership, so a lot less than what we saw a few weeks ago. And I just think it's interesting. And, we can circle back when we get down to the value options, but I probably rank them Rory, then Scheffler, then Bryson, but it's pretty close among the 3 of them. If you're not starting there, I mean, I don't like if you're building a cash game or a single entry team, can you skip all 3 of them?
I think I'm going to build 3 teams, and I'm going to do 1 Bryson, 1 Rory, run 1 Xander. TJ just commented, our producer, that he made a lineup pretty easily with 3 10K guys. And yeah, you can do that this week, especially if you're sorting by point per dollar in any projections, just because you're going to get a lot of those 5 and 6K guys that are going to project well. So yeah, I don't mind starting the 10s. You're just giving up a lot of win equity. Scheffler and Rory are both 5-1. Bryson's like 14-1, and then you have a pretty big dip in this range. But yeah, I mean, Xander, he's played great here over the past 3 years, second, and 14th, 4 straight top 20s. He's obviously won 2 of the last 4 majors. Kind of seems like he's been the forgotten guy this week. We have him at 7% ownership, which I really like. So I'd probably prefer him over the other guys, but Jon Rahm's been really good on Live. He hasn't won a ton, but he's top 10 machine. You have Morikawa, who I don't think he has the distance to win, but he can definitely make up for it with the long irons. I think he can top 10 here, no problem. Ludwig's just the odd man out for me. I don't think he's playing great at the moment and feels way overpriced to me.
Yeah, not playing great at the moment. I mean, it is intriguing with his distance when he's playing well, but the one time we saw him, I can't remember what tournament it was, but he had that terrible weekend when he fell ill, and then it's kind of been all downhill since then. So probably out on him. My favorite guy in this range, especially at our projected ownership, is Rahm. In fact, I think a few of the Live guys, project as pretty decent point per dollar plays on this course, especially since people tend to avoid them because we don't see them so often. Rahm, even though the Live events are small fields and he hasn't been like ripping off wins, I think he's finished top 10 in every single Live event this year. He wants to win a major, and this just could be the spot, the time that nobody's thinking about him. Didn't play super well at the Masters. At 10-2, he's cheaper than all those other guys. Rahm is my favorite for sure in GPPs. No issue with Xander or Morikawa either, but probably out on Ludwig. Any other takes on the 10K plus?
No, I think, yeah. What's your favorite starting point for lineups, Rory?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's why I think if I was doing one GPP lineup, I'd probably start Rahm Thomas.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
I
Or
mean, in cash games, yeah, it's probably Rory. Rory Thomas, if that's doable. I don't know. I kind of buried the lead, but I like Thomas at 9,900. So trying to find a way to get him in there. Like, it's harder with Scheffler for sure. If you go Rory Thomas, it still only leaves you with 69.75 per player. I think that's doable though.
it's doable for sure.
It's doable because there's some 6K-ish guys that are okay. We'll see how that looks once we get down to that value range. But well, that takes us into the nines, and obviously I like Thomas, who won here in 2017 at the PGA. Had a second place finish last week, had a win a month ago. Everything's coming together, finally ripping off good finishes in consecutive fashion here for JT. So obviously doesn't mind the course and has won here before under pressure at 9.9K. And then you've got part of it is I don't love a whole lot else in the 9Ks, at least the upper 9Ks. Hovland didn't play well again last week. Major Brooks hasn't shown up in a while. Neiman, I think you can make a case for. Cantlay, I think you can make a case for. Not really in love with Matsuyama or Spieth as we get to the bottom part of the 9K range, but definitely Thomas, probably Neiman or Cantlay next in the 9Ks for me. How about you?
Yeah, I'm with you, JT. If you look at his carry distance, it's gotten better and better over the last 100 rounds, 50 rounds, 24 rounds. So he's adding speed, which is always a good thing on these longer courses. He's won here before. Great iron player, great scrambler. If he has a good week with the putter, got to think he's going to be in the mix again. So I like that call. I like Patrick Cantlay quite a bit. If you look at his results, man, he's gaining 6+ strokes ball striking every week. He just can't get it done around the green, which has historically been a strength of his. So I like Cantlay at 9,500. He's like 45-1 in the outright market. I don't mind betting him a little bit there. PGA Championship tends to be the one where you get outlier winners more often than not. So I like him. And then in the bottom of the range, Tommy Fleetwood's playing great. Terrell Hatton's one of my favorite live targets this week. He was third here in 2023. Another one of those guys that just really good at everything, so he can tend to play these more difficult courses well. And I'm with you. I don't really love anyone else in the nines. And we did get a question about one and done this week. I do think it's a great week to play one of the live guys. I think I'm going Bryson, but I don't mind going Rahm. Don't mind going Patrick Reed.
Seems like it's probably Rahm for me. I used Bryson at the Masters. So, and I used Rory last week, so that bullet's gone. That was a little disappointing, but yeah, it was hard to call it disappointing. But when you're using Rory or Scheffler, you kind of want him to win that week.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on the 9K range for you? I mean, bottom of the range at like Hatton is again another live guy that I'm okay on. You mentioned Fleetwood's been playing well, Lowry's been playing well. All three of those guys really tend to play better on the more difficult courses. So I'm fine if one of those three guys fits your build to throw them in. I don't really have a strong, I think, lean among the three. If the ownership holds, I think Fleetwood would be the one I'd be the most overweight on. But anything else on the nines?
I don't think so. Hideki projects kind of well, but he's been driving it bad, and his putter's been pretty bad recently. I do think he was second here in 2017 at the PGA Championship, but I don't know. He just hasn't been great this year. So yeah, I don't love the nines, and then I really don't love the eighth, which is kind of why I'm building a lot of stars and scrubs lineups.
Yeah, it is a little bit unique. I think I maybe like the eights a little bit more than you do. Henley, I think, is going to project as one of the safer plays. We've got Jason Day, Will Zalatoris in here. Minwoo Lee, if you're playing the bomber angle, he's a bit volatile, but I think certainly for GPPs at 8.6K. Wyndham Clark at 85, Cam Smith at 84. Corey Connors always priced around the mid-range, though maybe a little more expensive than usual at 83 this week. Sungjae Im, Patrick Reed, last week's winner Sepp Straka rounding out that range. So I'm in on Minwoo. I tagged him as a GPP play this week simply because of the upside in his game and the bomber angle. If he can keep the irons reasonably good. I like his upside at that salary. Connors is going to be probably the chalk, along with maybe Henley. I think Henley maybe gets a little bit higher than what we have him at right now. Yeah, so I don't mind this range. Your thoughts?
Yeah, the only guys I like, Corey Connors, 8,300. Good ball striker, hits a lot of fairways. He can play these longer courses well because he is so good with those long irons. Back-to-back top 15s here. And he's gained around the green in 6 of his last 8 events. He's gained on the greens in 5 of his last 8 events. So the short game has been better than usual over the last couple months. And then I like Patrick Reed at 8,100. He's been playing some really good golf, was 3rd at the Masters. Was top 10 in 4 of his last 5 live events as well. And he was 6th here the last time he played in 2021 at the Wells Fargo. Those are really the only 2 that I like. I do think Min Woo Lee, like you mentioned, is a good course fit. He's a guy that can bomb it and pretty good short game. The irons just need to be there. Outside of that, I mean, everyone feels overpriced to me. Henley's fine, but I don't know. He's going to be hitting his approach shots from 230 yards every hole.
Yeah, I'm not as high on Henley as I think our projections are in terms of, I mean, ownership. I think he's probably end up going to be slightly higher than what we have. In terms of, where I project to land on him, I will probably be a little bit underweight. But I do like Min Woo. Don't mind Patrick Reed. Again, a little higher on the live guys this week. Certainly Connors I'll keep in my player pool. So those 3 for sure. And then I think Straka is the wild card. I don't know. I just haven't played him that much. And some weeks it's worked out and some weeks it hasn't. So especially last week. So I don't know. It's just hard to jump aboard the train right now.
Yeah, and he showed at a couple majors. I think he was 2nd at the Open a couple years ago. One of the better iron players in the field, but definitely doesn't have the distance that I'm looking for. And he's not a great scrambler either. So I typically like him on a little bit easier courses.
Certainly not going to fault anybody, though, if you've been riding the wave and it's been working for you. Not going to fault that one bit. But Reed, I like in that range a little bit more. And then as we get down into the 7s, I feel like, yeah. So Ryan Fox won in Myrtle Beach last week in the alternate field event. As many times as I've played Ryan Fox, he's got to go win an alternate field event when there's no big DFS contest. I'm happy for him. And he's a bomber too. So who knows? I'm probably not playing Ryan Fox at 7,900. That feels a bit steep. We're used to him kind of being around 7K or in the 6s, but good for him winning. I'm just a little spurned that it happened at an event where I couldn't play him. But he's there at 7,900. Quite a few names in here as well. Daniel Berger's been playing well. Tom Kim, Thigala, Matt McNeely. We go down to the middle part of the 7K range. You got Siwoo Kim, Sam Burns, Max Homa finally showed a little something last week. DJ all the way down here. Bobby Mack, Matt Fitzpatrick taking us down to 7,500. Berger's going to be the clear and obvious guy in this range. You look at what he's done, hasn't missed a cut since January. 9 made cuts in a row, and I don't think any of them are worse than 30th. So Berger's the chalk here. What do you like in the upper 7s?
Yeah, I finally played a little Berger last week. Continued to play well. 7,900 is a good price point. Decent course history too. So yeah, I don't mind looking to Berger here. Everyone else just feels, I don't know, Max Homa at 7,600. I know he was good here the last couple of years, but he's been so bad this year. Off the tee's been bad. Approach has been bad. Tom Kim, Siwoo Kim, they were pretty good here at the President's Cup, but I don't really trust either of them on a course where you need distance. They're 2 of the shorter hitters in the field. I don't love a lot 7,500 and up. Do you have anyone else that you like?
I mean, I'm on Berger because I've been playing him the whole time, so I'm certainly not going to stop now. I like Bobby Mack in GPPs a good bit as well. He's long off the tee, tends to have some upside when he's on his game. There's a little bit of downside risk there. Probably not playing him in cash games, but I can see the Siwoo argument. So Siwoo, Bobby Mack, Berger. Still debating on whether or not I'll play. I can't play Ryan Fox at that price. That's too expensive, right?
I mean,
too expensive in a major.
You got it. You have to. He's your guy.
That's it. He won last week. He's not gonna threaten again. I can't.
Course fit wise, he might be the best guy in this range.
It is, but I wish he wouldn't have won last week. And then he's 7,900. That's too expensive.
But if he would have finished second last week, would you play him?
I wouldn't have even known he finished second because it was an event that nobody watched. I just saw that he won. Oh yes, I guess because I wouldn't have known. But that's a dumb argument. I shouldn't use that as my rationale, but I still think 7,900 is a little bit too expensive. We'll see if he ends up in my player pool or not. No promises as of yet. All right, let's move to the bottom part of the 7K range. We'll see if Noto likes this range any better. You've got his boy Brian Harmon in here, though this doesn't feel like a Harmon layout. Tony Finau, Davis Thompson, Keegan Bradley, Benny On. So still some names that Sergio's down all the way at 7K. Ricky Fowler in here. What are you thinking for the bottom part of the 7Ks?
Yeah, Ricky Fowler, top 15 last week. I'm surprised. Did Hon Dizzle tag him this week? I didn't even.
He did not.
Okay, I'm surprised. Usually count on him for a Ricky tag. I like Benny On, Bomber. Was third here last year. I like Keegan Bradley. If you look at his stats, he's been awesome tee to green. Just hasn't been able to putt very well the last few weeks. And on these tougher tracks, I'm certainly fine, leaning with the strong tee to green guys over the strong putters. And then Finau was okay last week. I don't hate him. Tends to be pretty good in majors. Are you playing Cam Young? How many lineups would it take for you to play Cam Young?
150.
You'd get 1%.
I give him in one just out of spite.
Seven last week at the Myrtle Beach.
He couldn't even beat Ryan Fox.
2 for 2 here.
No, every time we've done this year, he shot like plus 75. It seems like.
Yeah, he's done by the first hole. So
go ahead. If you want to be that guy, go ahead.
I'm not playing him, but if you just want to just have your player pool consist of bombers, I think that's fine.
I'm not going there. Not going there one bit. Burmeister at 6,900. He can bomb it. Play him instead.
Yeah, I agree.
Or go up to Ryan Fox or play Finau. He's not as much of a bomber these days. But anyways, that does it for the 7Ks for me. Again, Burmeister at 6,900 I think is fine. Aaron Rye is always strong with the long irons. Not as where do you stand on Rye? I mean, we always like him on the shorter courses that maybe don't prioritize driving. But now you got a course that is going to require the long irons, but also you want to be pretty long off the tee. We've got him at 9% right now. Denny McCarthy in this range as well. Taylor Pendrith, Andrew Novak, a couple guys that have shown some results. Get the Højgaards down here. What are you looking at in the sixes?
I don't mind Aaron Rye. You can play well here if you hit your long irons well. And I think he's just a cheaper version of Russell Henley. They do pretty much the same things well. They both hit fairways, good iron players, good around the green. Henley's a better putter, but you're getting a big discount. Henley's 8,900, Rye's 6,800. So I have a little bit of him. I do like Harris English, T11 last week, and he's made his last 3 cuts here, including a third in 2023. He tends to play long, difficult course as well. He always pops at the U.S. Open and the PGA Championships. So I like Harris English. Pendrith is a good fit, but I feel like a lot of people are going to play him, and he's been pretty bad over the last couple of months. So I might end up fading Pendrith if he becomes chalky. David Puig over on Live, another guy that's really long off the tee. You can play him with Burmeister. They're both, 2 of the longer hitters on Live, and he's been in pretty good form. He's got a bunch of top 20s in a row. So those are probably my favorite options here. Jägerbaum's always viable on these longer courses. He's got a couple top 30s here in the last 2 years too.
All right, I'll go through some of my options here in the 6Ks, but before we do that, I said we were going to do it earlier this week, and then I forgot about it. Oh my goodness, are there no snake drafts this week on DraftKings? How can there be no snake drafts?
Snake Showdown?
There's only Snake Showdown that I see. So that's for round 1 only.
It's weird.
I suppose we could do one of those. You don't see regular snake draft, do you? Am I blind?
No, I don't see it.
Okay. We got Classic, we got Showdown, we got pick 6, and we got Snake Showdown and Tiers. So, all right, we're going to try something different. Hopefully we can get 6 people to join, 4 more besides us. If you're not familiar, we'd like to try to do a snake draft at the end of the show. So we're going to do Snake Showdown this week. And there is a 6-man $5 Snake Showdown, which would be for round 1 only. So you can get your winnings instantly. $5 to get in. And Noto and I will join that up, and we'll see if anybody else joins us. If we can't fill it because everyone wants the regular snakes, you'll have to write to DraftKings because those don't seem to exist right now. All right, we'll see if that fills up. Meanwhile, other options in the 6s. Did you mention Keith Mitchell or no?
Yeah, we haven't gone down there.
Okay, so you just did the upper. Yeah, usually we don't split the 6s, but there's so many of them this week that there's certainly options at the upper part of the 6s and the lower part of the 6s. So, if you're wanting bombers, Jake Knapp at the bottom part of that range fits that mold. And then Keith Mitchell, if the pricing was set later on last weekend, would probably be $700 or $800 higher. Obviously was in the lead there at the Truist. Again, we talked about how that course ended up catering to driving distance a little bit more than most people expected. Mitchell's a bomber. He's got a 3rd place finish at Quail Hollow in the past, I think like 3 years ago, and he's only 6,200. So seems really weird to be planting a flag on Keith Mitchell at a major.
Yeah.
Could very well backfire, but here we are. And I think he's probably the logical value at 6,200.
I think in high dollar stuff, he's going to be so chalky, which I don't love, but man, 6,200. If you count the team event, he has 5 straight top 20s. He's got 2 top 10s at this event. He's the bomber that we're looking for. Good long iron player. Hits a ton of greens in regulation. And yeah, just a guy that tends to string together good finishes. So I like Mitchell a lot at 6,200. Nearguard Peterson at 6,100. He's been awesome. Top 20 machine over on the European Tour. I was looking at his stats. He's top 20 over there in strokes gained off the tee and strokes gained on approach. He's also pretty long off the tee. So I like him at 6,100. You mentioned Jake Knapp. Play the bomber angle there. That's about it for me. Yeah, I do like some guys in the 5Ks too.
I'm composing a tweet. So we're down to 1 spot open on the snake draft. So I'll send a tweet out in case that gets us a 6th. All right. Don't mind those calls there. And obviously in on Mitchell. And then the pricing does go down into the 5Ks this week. Michael Kim is kind of the name that stands out in here, but he did end up withdrawing in the middle of the tournament last week as well. Taylor Moore had been playing really well, was a chalky value a couple weeks ago and did absolutely nothing. Don't love guys like Ben Griffin, Eric Cole, Chris Kirk here on a course that's probably going to cater to the distance. But maybe somebody like Mackenzie Hughes comes into play. Looks like you've got a couple guys tagged all the way down in the 5s this week also. So what do we got down here?
Yeah, I do like Mackenzie Hughes. This is actually his home course, which I found out today. That narrative doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot, but he's been a lot better. He's added some speed. Nearly won at Myrtle Beach last week, and he had a top 10 and a T3 in the last month too. So he's been playing some good golf. Other guys, don't mind looking to Norgard Mahler. Similar stats to Nearguard Peterson, although Norgard Mahler has played more over on the PGA Tour, so he's got a little bit more experience over here. Bomber off the tee, pretty good putter too, makes a ton of birdies. So he's at 5,400. And then, yeah, I don't mind Patrick Rogers on a driver-heavy course. Sam Stevens, Kevin Yu, both bombers, if you want to look at them. And, there's just a lot of guys. Glover, Grazerman, Olesen. I could play pretty much any of these in my
Olesen I don't. Olesen I'll probably have in my player pool as well. So this is what helps the Scheffler builds work. If you want to dig super deep down in there, I probably won't be going as deep as some, but that's because I'm starting a few more lineups with Rahm and Thomas instead. So, all right, we filled our snake draft. So I'll take over the screen share. It's starting in 30 seconds. I got the 2nd pick. Noto got the 3rd pick. So I will hopefully share the right tab here. Snake Showdown. This is only for round 1. Generally, I would prefer guys who are playing in the morning but have not researched the tee times yet. Wasn't planning on having to do any showdown stuff here, but that's all right. We'll give it a go. Well, Bryson first.
Ooh.
Threw me off here.
So did you see Rory, Scheffler, and Xander are all paired together?
Interesting. I mean, I cannot let you, out of principle, I can't let you take Scheffler third. So
Fine.
It kind of fell in your lap there.
Yeah. I like the bold call with Bryson first, though.
Yeah, you're only getting, I mean, if you're in a snake draft, you're only getting one of them anyway. Did we still do? Oh, we only do 4 guys here. 3 golfers and 1 bet. So it's a 4-rounder. It's going to be a smash and grab.
Like Fleetwood's a better 4-round play, but that's all right.
I'll go Neiman. Neiman's fine for a showdown. There probably hasn't been too many of these done, so the rankings might be a little all over the place.
I wonder if they just forgot to post the
I don't know. Imagine enough of those fill every week that, I mean, sometimes we see some of the bigger dollar ones that got some people in them. Counters here. They definitely aren't there. I just tried on a different browser and it still wasn't there. So. All right, rolling through round 3 of 4. Going to be a quick one.
You got to take Cam Young as your last pick.
Probably not necessary. Probably not necessary. Ooh, Cavs are up by 17 now. Kind of a wild NBA playoff so far. I'm sweating. I never sweat this, but I have never cared in my life about the NFL schedule release. But I have told our oldest, who's become a pretty big Ravens fan, right? We live in the middle of Illinois, so it's not like we can just, oh, hang on. Let's finish the last round here. You know what? I'll take Ryan Fox with my last pick. There you go. Okay. So I've never cared 1 iota about the NFL schedule release. But since we're in Illinois, you know, I told our oldest, you know, we got to get to a Ravens game when they're around. Now, the closest things to me of around used to be St. Louis. They don't have an NFL team anymore. I am not a fan of going up into Chicago. They're not super friendly for visiting fans. So I said, the Ravens are in Green Bay this year. So we're going to plan to, and I've got some friends that are Green Bay fans. So we're going to plan to go up when the Ravens play the Packers in Green Bay. Now, there's a big difference between playing in Green Bay in September and playing in Green Bay in December. So I'm really hoping that the Ravens-Packers game lands in the early part of the schedule and not like, you know, September at noon versus like December on like a Monday night. A big difference there.
Yeah, that's a sweat right there.
That's a sweat. Plus, you know, a Monday night game, then you've got school schedules impacted and stuff. So eagerly awaiting the schedule release tomorrow to see when the Ravens and Packers meet up this year. Anyway, that's it for the snake draft. And I think that's it for the show. Make sure you hit that like button and follow us. Subscribe to the channel. You can get notifications whenever we happen to go live. And we are here with you each and every Tuesday night. Noto, anything else before we get out of here?
Enjoy the week. Should be fun. I'll be around in the Discord if anybody has any questions this week.
All right. Check us out, RotoGrinders.com. Thanks to Noto for joining me. Thanks to TJ for stepping in and producing behind the scenes for us tonight. Appreciate his help filling in for Steve. And for Noto, I'm Justin. Have a great week. Enjoy the PGA Championship, and we'll catch you back here next week, everybody. See ya.